Do you want to retire earlier, but you can't save more each month? Now, most people think the only way to retire earlier is to be able to save more, but that isn't the case. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what you can do to retire earlier without saving more each month. But before we get into it, my name's Ben, I'm a financial planner, and my aim is to help people gain more clarity and confidence around their financial plan. Okay, so when it comes to retiring earlier, there are two main levers you can pull. You can either save more or you can take a higher level of investment risk. Now, what I mean by investment risk is simply investing more of your money into things that are going to grow over time rather than safer assets. So, in the example, I'm going to talk you through exactly how that can have an impact on when you can retire. So in this example, I've got a couple who are currently age 40. They've each got £70,000 invested in their pension already, and they're each saving £500 a month into their pension. So if you've watched any of my previous videos, you'll know that financial planners typically use historical back-tested market data to come up with a percentage chance of success when it comes to your financial plan. So what we typically like to look for is a 90% success rate. So what I'm going to do now is show you how the level of risk that each of these couples can take actually impacts on when they can retire, even though they're saving the exact same amount each month and they're starting from the exact same starting point in terms of their current pension pot. So if we first look at an example where the couple are invested in what we would typically class as a medium risk portfolio. Now, I'm not going to go into the details in terms of what this looks like, but typically it means that 60% of your pension is invested in equities and 40% is invested in bonds. And simply put, it means that you're taking a higher level of risk with 60% of your pension and the lower level of risk with 40% of your pension. Based on their current scenario and the amount they're saving each month, to achieve a 90% success rate, they would need to work until 61 years of age. Clearly, this is not a bad position to be in, and I think most people do aspire to retire around the age of 60 or 61. But now if we look at if they take a higher level of risk, how does this actually impact when they can retire? So again, we're looking for that same 90% success rate, same starting point, same amount in their pension, same amount invested each month. But in this example, they're investing 100% of their pension in higher risk assets and nothing in the lower risk assets. So what I'm going to show you now on screen is the impact that this has. So you can see that to achieve the same 90% success rate, they could actually retire at age 58 rather than 61. That's a 3-year difference. Now, clearly, this is a big thing because if you can retire 3 years earlier, not only does that mean that you've got 3 years less of saving and working, it also means you've got 3 years additional retirement to actually go out and enjoy life and do what you want. So why is this the case? Because, if you're looking at it from a position of, okay, well, then you're saying that the higher risk is actually going to be beneficial for me. Now, that's because over a long period, and in this example, we're looking at a 15 to 20 year period. Typically, you would expect that if you're invested more in higher risk assets than lower risk assets, you're going to be a lot better off over that time frame. And simply, this is because of compounding. So what I mean by this is that because you're invested in a higher level of risk, over the long term, that's actually going to be a lot more beneficial for you than taking a lower level of risk. Now, it's worth mentioning that because you would be taking a higher level of risk, you would see a higher level of fluctuation in your pension. So what I mean by that is if you invest in the higher risk portfolio, you are going to see the value of your pension go up and down a lot more than with the lower risk pension. You need to try and get to a point where you're comfortable with that and you've got in your mind the reason why you're taking that level of risk, because you need to get to know and get familiar with the fact that that higher level of risk is beneficial for you long term. Now, it may be uncomfortable for you in the short term, but if I could say to you, okay, well, you can take a higher level of risk and you're going to see more ups and downs, but it means you can retire 3 years earlier, I think you're going to be pretty happy with that outcome. Now, having understood a bit more about the level of risk and how much that can impact when you can retire, you might be thinking, okay, well, how much do I need in my pension to retire with, let's say, £2,000 a month when it comes to retirement? So what I would suggest is checking out this video next, which talks through exactly how much you'll need based on different levels of income in retirement. But anyway, Hope you got some value from this video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do subscribe to the channel because it really would mean a lot to me. And hopefully I'll see you in the next video.